something that was going to be a little different.
I was getting hungry. I was looking for soft tortillas with that.
Really? So you thought Habitue was a salsa?
Get it on.
Oh, okay. All right.
I thought it was a hibachi at first. I didn't even front, but no.
What?
So in the hot seat habitue is Richard Wilford, author. I hate to say pastor a lot of times because when you say pastor, people get this idea, this misconception
Let it flow, man.
of pastor. You know
That he's going to have to behave.
I don't know. It's almost like they want this false expectation. It's like, oh, well, he's a pastor. He's not supposed to talk about certain things. I'm like, no, pastors are real too.
If he's going to sit in here with us, he already knew.
Yeah. So
Bring it.
before we go into Richard and what he's got going on, we're going to go into our question/discussion topic of the day.
And that is called
The
effing
truth. I don't know. I thought you were going to say it. You were like,
I'm
that's called
waiting on
the effing
you.
truth. We're
You are
discussing
leaving me
effing.
hanging
Okay.
today.
I'm sorry. It's the effing truth.
All right.
Now you gonna give a breakdown of what the effing truth is?
You were a little scared to say it.
No.
The effing truth is the facts and truth behind a discussion
Love it.
Right.
that we will have. So today, our discussion piece is...
Yes. So do your standards change or stay the same as you get older when it comes to dating? Do your standards change or stay the same when it comes to dating? And actually, we got quite a few posts on the Facebook page. A lot of women answered this question.
I love it.
That's
because I tagged all women.
But the funny thing, I was waiting for some men. No, because I saw it was some men that actually shared the question, but none of the men engaged. And it's interesting, and I want to ask Richard, what's your take on it? What's your take on the question? Because you're in a hot seat.
Yeah.
We're about to make it hot.
If the question is, does your standards change as you get older? The answer is yes.
When it comes to dating.
When it comes to dating, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
your
so
standards
let
change.
me say one thing before we dive into this conversation. We have 3 different viewpoints. We have 3 different ages. I ain't gonna put anybody's age out there, but we're in very different boats as far as how we may view this thing. So I think that's an interesting twist as well. You don't feel that way? Okay.
I mean, it's necessary. We have both male and female here, and the fact that I think that because of the age scope,
there you go.
we can have a decent conversation on it. Adult as well. I'm gonna be
All
me.
of us are good and grown.
I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna be honest with you because I'm gonna be honest. Me personally, I feel like in some situations, this isn't mine, but I think that's part of the problem with when it comes to dating right now because we have some individuals where it hasn't changed at all. They approach dating the same way like they were, like they're approaching somebody going to prom. And for some, yes. And for some men, I will say for some men, it's producing results.
Hey, girl.
An expectation. Yeah, I think an expectation. I think I guess you have to look at how people define dating. Is dating just, I'm just trying to find somebody to hook up. Hey, what's up?
Yep.
Is that dating?
Yes.
The game has changed now, and now dating is not exclusive.
Right, not at all.
It's I see him today, I see somebody else tomorrow, I see somebody. That's dating, and so the whole game has changed. So, does it change? I think yes. Yes, it changes. I think expectation would be a word. What are the expectations? Standards and expectations seem like 2 different words to me.
I don't even
what
think
are
standards
the standards?
exist.
Yeah, no, you got to have some standards. Somebody, you got a bottom line.
I think they're unspoken.
Yeah, they are.
Are they?
It's like values.
So, but that's almost like silence is acceptance. So if it's not
I think
spoken.
it shows. It should show in your character and what you allow and what you don't allow to go down. No.
When you're younger, you have more unrealistic expectations.
I think
when I first
it's more external, too.
For sure it is. We want looks. It's all external. First, when I first started dating, my standard was she can't have any cavities.
Why is that?
I don't know. I just thought a chick with cavities would not be cool.
She didn't know how to take care of
Until
herself.
I went to the dentist. You see how this works?
Wow.
And found out you had 4
Then the game changes. So again, I think the expectations are they're unrealistic. The younger you are, they're unrealistic. We have this pie in the sky dreamy.
Right.
When I was coming up, it was the DeBarge age. All the brown brothers and dark-skinned brothers would kick to the curb. Everybody wanted
a bunny.
The DeBarge cats.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
DeBarge, yeah.
And they were talking crazy things like, "Ooh, he would make a cute baby with good hair and pretty eyes." So the It was a totally different ball game, man. You know, bald head cats was different.
Yeah.
So it was a whole different market. So I think expectations, like you said, I think external. They're unrealistic. But as you get older, I think all of those expectations, they change as you change. I think that's it.
That's true.
As you change, they change.
I'm going to throw this out there for conversation's sake. What about the sugar daddy effect? Just to show how it doesn't change. Those men that purposely date younger women, it's almost like they stay in that mind frame where it's like all they're looking for is somebody younger.
Well, you didn't just come into this world as a sugar daddy like this.
No, I'm saying, but that's where it's almost like because that superficial thinking when they were younger when it came to dating, it stays with them. So I'm saying for like a responsible adult, yes, I feel you. When I was younger, some of the stuff that was important to me as I get older is no longer there. It doesn't even exist.
Right.
Because of the fact that you want somebody that's caring, nurturing, somebody's got common sense.
Absolutely.
Somebody that is going to be financially fit, somebody that's going to be sensible.
Absolutely.
But you have those individuals where, and I know somebody personally, and I won't put them on blast, Chico, where
Did you say that?
No.
What was that? Did you call?
I had a little,
okay.
they still go after superficial things, and it's been that way. And you have those conversations with them. It's like, man, we've been having the same conversation for 20 years now.
Yeah.
So I can't.
Yeah, it's the shallow Hal.
Yeah, exactly.
Syndrome.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
It's what I see, and this is the model and the mold, regardless of what I look like on this side of the table.
Right. Right. Exactly.
I'm still
I'm
going
too paid
after
out.
that, and then you wonder why. You may net the fish, but it costs you more.
Yeah.
And
women do it too. Don't play. Women do it too. You have women that they're called gold diggers, and it's nothing worse than seeing a old gold digger past her prime.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yes, it happens. Let's be for real.
Okay, but
that's thrift store.
I think it just
That's not gold digging.
Right, no,
That's shopping at the Salvation Army.
it just depends on the individual you're talking to and having the conversation with. Because I think someone who's grounded, someone who has some life experience, that may have an education background, all these different factors.
I don't think education plays a part in it.
I think it does.
It's
As far as the standards that you have, it's going to be a little different for some. Some people who have a degree, and I think we've had this conversation before off the air, as far as what you have as an expectation. Once you have a degree, does your standards change as far as what the other person can bring to the table?
I dated some educated fools, Crystal. She's got
They
a
didn't know
master's.
it.
She's got her master's. She's beautiful, but she is shallow and empty. Yeah. That's why nothing came of it. So then what? So I'm saying, like, educate. Think about it. We come from a country that was founded on and built on the backs of slaves and individuals that were uneducated. So you think about your great-grandparents, some of the individuals. I'm older, so my grandparents didn't go to college, but I learned what love was from seeing them. So I can't say everything comes from just being educated, because some people's reason of getting education may be all the wrong reasons. You have those that chase money. You have those that think that, education is going to make me a better person, but they're not a better person once being educated.
I guess. I think it's also the self-actualization of it. Once someone becomes centered, knows more about themselves, your standards do change. Your viewpoint of what you will accept and what is off limits changes. Because I even think of when you're younger, some of the things that you are taught just by observing other relationships, you get a little older and you think, that was not cool, that was not right, I should never accepted that, but that is something that I visually saw from other relationships and thought that this is what I had to accept. And so over time, over experience, the viewpoint changes.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think as you evolve as a person and grow through experiences, you learn what you want, and then you learn what you don't want.
What was one of the
Especially when it starts hurting you.
What was one of the biggest standards that you had to change as you got older when it came to approaching women? I told you this is the hot seat. This is the hot seat.
You know what? I like what I like.
Okay.
And I don't like what I don't like.
What is that?
Whatever that is. So
you
like what I like and I don't like.
So when you were younger, you settled.
You don't really know
give us like two.
Through your past. Say it again.
Give us like two things.
Okay, like
one that you like and one that you don't like.
Okay, but you don't know how.
I like how
You don't
try
want
to
your
avoid.
phone blowing up. Is that what it is?
Because he gonna know who he's
Right.
talking about.
Oh, so that's why we couldn't go any further.
But here's my point. Exact wherever you all are right now, and I am right now.
He's getting ready to put that past
It is
the hat on.
no. It
We
is
in
a
the
sum
studio.
total.
It got real.
We're in the studio right now.
Wherever we are right now,
We gonna
it is
kick
a
you out of
sum
this
total of what we've been through, our likes and dislikes,
I'm
what
gonna
we've
kick
been
you
like,
off your
the ups
high
and downs and ins and outs.
I'm going to
So,
kick him
you get what
off.
I'm
I'm going to
saying?
interrupt you.
No,
You
I'm
know
just
why I'm going to
saying.
interrupt you? Because you didn't answer the
I'm
question.
trying to get there. I'm saying.
Today,
Okay,
we have
here's the
limited
argument.
time.
Well, I don't know.
One thing that you can and one thing you cannot.
Well, I'll say it this way.
Standard.
I used to be far more superficial
Okay.
than I am now.
Okay.
An example of that would be.
Just pretty. You know what I mean? You
we
ain't
can
get
go
me
through
in
that
trouble. I got to go
all
home tonight. But I'm just saying, you like what you like. You know, and some of that it is suggested
So now
has
she
to
can be
do
ugly.
with. Wait a minute.
So now she can be ugly?
No, I didn't say that. I like what I like, and I've just learned to. I've learned to be at peace with what I like, and what I like doesn't take away from anybody else. It's just what I like.
Okay.
And so the fish, to eat the fish for tuna, and you like catfish.
Right.
You know what I mean? You
It's-
can go over there if you want to. And we try variety. We try. You get what I'm saying? We try variety, but you know what you like and what you don't like. And I
Oh, my
think
goodness.
a lot of that has to do with learning you.
Yes.
And I think before you jump in a relationship, I really believe we ought to spend more time learning what we like in this life. Who I am.
I think the one thing that has changed for me as far as on a priority list, not that it's not a priority anymore, but it's not as high,
Okay.
is the chemistry / what's the nice word to say? The level of connection intimately.
Okay. Can he be missing a front tooth?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, because I'll stare at it all day. It's like having a booger in your nose. It will distract me for the entire relationship. But that kind of thing can be fixed. If you have a missing tooth, you can just go to the dentist.
No, that costs.
It doesn't
that takes
matter.
time.
We can get you a nice dental plan, Delta Dental. And,
All right, so we got a caller,
What's yours?
Nando.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
What's going on, Nando?
Not too much. Not too much. Usually listen to other shows and didn't realize it was a show at this time, and I didn't know if it was live or Memorex.
Oh, yes, sir. This is iRaise
We are
Radio,
here.
so welcome.
Welcome. Hey, it's good to hear, a different cast on. You guys are having too much fun. You guys need to leave that man alone.
too much.
He's squirming.
I got it, man. Come on with
I
it.
just wanted the question answered. That's
Come
all.
on with it.
Yeah, I understand that, but, like you said, he's got to go home tonight.
That's right.
So Nando, question for you. What are
sure.
some of the standards that changed for you as you got older?
Well, I can say it. I mean, my wife isn't listening anyway, but even if she were.
Wow.
Even if she were, it's like some of you alluded to, when you grow as a person and you get a little older and you go through some experiences, and you start seeing what exactly it is you want. You may have thought you wanted this when you were younger, and then when you had it, then you're like, that's fine, but that's all there was to it. There wasn't enough substance for you, and then when you get older, you have an idea. Well, I'd really like to settle down with someone, to get married, have kids. Someone who's a nice person, good person.
Right.
Doesn't necessarily have to be, like Marilyn Monroe, which,
Absolutely.
I liked that when I was younger, and I had some relationships like that,
Yeah.
and they were fine, had fun and all, but sometimes when I think about it, it's like, what? I don't think I could have lasted.
Right.
So it's like I don't think I could have lasted, but yeah, you get this idea in your head. Sometimes it's advertising that puts this in your head, that this is what it is, that you're supposed to like, what have you.
You know what, Nando?
And-
I want to thank you, because actually we posted this question earlier today on our iRaise Radio page on Facebook, and it was nothing but women. You're the first man that's willing to stand up and say, hey, things do change.
Including me.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Slowly.
Oh, yeah, Well, you know what? Well, growing up, I've always been, why do men have to act this way, women have to act that way? I've always been that way. I could never understand the difference, why we had to do that. Even when I was like 6, 7 years old, I would look on TV and why is that? Why did those guys have to drown on the Titanic. Those women got to go on the boat.
Yeah.
When I was small, I remember seeing that, the old version.
Yeah.
And I was like, why? I couldn't understand it. I still can't, but, I know people have their own philosophies or whatever, but to me, I've always been like an equal kind of guy. Hey, you know what's good for one is good for the other. It shouldn't matter what's between your legs on how people treat you or what have you, unless, of course, they're looking for a relationship with you. Then, I guess even then, it's, what they're looking for
Change
themselves.
the playing field. All right, thank you, Nando.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling.
All right,
in.
guys, have a good one.
Thanks
Maybe
for
we'll
listening.
talk again.
Yeah,
I'm listening, man.
Check us
All
out
right,
next
guys.
Tuesday also. Going back into the conversation. Okay, so one of the things I want to touch on, this is more with Crystal, even though we know you're on the hot seat.
Okay.
Crystal, what's something that changed for you? Because you're going in on Wilford and you're going on guys. Like, But what's something that's changed for you?
She alluded to something.
I
She
did.
tap danced around
She
something.
said
Really
something
didn't
about
hear
the
it.
tooth thing. She said you could get your tooth fixed. But I'm talking about
I'm saying it's the entire order of my priority list completely shifted. The more I sat in a relationship, and I was trying to pinpoint why I would get antsy, why I would jump ship, and part of it you start looking, is it me or is it the individual?
Right.
And I'm sorry to say it was 50-50, but really being able to pinpoint what made me antsy and want to get out of that thing helped me develop for the next time around. This is something that will not fly in the future. And so really breaking that down, it was different for each person. I can definitely see I never dated the same person twice. You come in and you're like, oh, I've seen this before. No, it was always a completely different game. And so each time I learned something different about myself, what I wanted, what I did not want. And I just kind of had this checklist in my mind. But my priorities did change. And I think I actually got I'm sorry to say it this way. I think I actually got standards when I became a little more mature. Right. Because before it was just again, it was about the physical, it was about the look. It was like a boom, yes. Do we have this chemistry? Let's date. Yep. And so just changing that over into, okay, now what is it that I really want out of this thing? Because if I sit here too long and then realize I can't really tolerate you or stomach you for a long period of time, this isn't going to go anywhere. So it definitely has given me a clear picture of where I want to go. And that's one thing diving into. Can I give my couple of points?
Go for it. Because we got to bring you the F and truth.
Right.
So
like we said,
facts.
right. Like we said, we wanted to give a couple of facts behind everything we talk about, just so it's not just us rambling, right? So one of the facts, the research revealed that as people get older, they are less inclined to be picky about contacting a potential partner online that matches or exceeds their intellect. And that is from the University of Queensland. And they did a study over multiple dating sites. Another study, this is point number 2, according to a study from the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin on American marriages, having high standards can lead to better, more satisfying marriages. And the last study showed that the most common time for breakups is around 3 to 5 months. So
That's been
figuring
the majority
out
of my relationship.
figuring out if they meet those standards, you sit there long enough, and then those true colors start to come out.
Absolutely.
I guess so.
Yeah, we perform well.
Yeah.
Right, you can tap dance only so long.
I've had
Then the
many
makeup comes
moments
off.
when I wake up and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's very unfortunate.
And not only do you see them, you begin. It's about you and what you see more of what I like and what I don't like. I don't like good morning.
You don't like all that?
No, I'm just,
You don't
not
like singing?
by example. I don't like.
I sing in the morning.
You figure out the more you know you, I think the better.
As long as it comes after toothbrush, you can go for it.
Can I shout out a couple of our participants on Facebook?
Yes.
We have one individual say they absolutely change with maturity. With age comes wisdom. The standards at 21 may be 2 pages long, whereas your standards at 35 may be only 10 things. As you get older and have experience, you tend to realize what's important in a relationship and in dating. Someone who's a little older, one of our older listeners says, nobody wants to fight when they're in their 40s. And I hate to even think of dating in my 40s. I am way too set in my ways. And I'd be horrible at dating. So we have a multitude of different age ranges and input as far as on this topic. You can definitely follow us and continue the conversation.
iRaise Radio. Just go right there. Now jumping into the hot seat habitue.
Yes, we have Richard Wilford.
We got more hot questions.
No, well, it's all about you now. Now the full focus is truly on you. Now that we've tortured you,
rough and rugged stuff. Bring it.
I thought after we tortured you, we loosened you up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We pulled your arm
what
this
I
way.
like, and I don't like what I don't like.
Now you can give us a little background on your books and the things that you have coming up.
Well, first, tell our listeners who you are.
My name is Richard Wilford.
We got that part.
And I like what I like, and I don't like what I don't like. I pastor the City of Praise Church in Gary, Indiana, 19th and Matthews is where we worship at 9 o'clock on Sundays, Wednesdays, 6:30. That's me. I'm Richard Wilford. I pastor church.
You
the
do
Lord
more
bless.
than that.
Let's see. For the last 3 years or so, the Lord has taken us on a journey. My family and then my son Angelo, who battled with cancer for 3 years, and in December of last year, the Lord took him home to be with the Lord. We simply journaled our journey. It was an opportunity for me to share. It was initially an opportunity for me to allow people to have a window in on what happens inside the hospital, because I really was blown away at how many children were sick in Riley's hospital. I'd never seen as many children sick in my life, from the burn unit and that many children who had cancer and were sick, and so many families that had suffered. I was totally blown away, and the Lord drew us into that life. And I was just blown away at the patient. I was blown away at the caregivers, the families that suffer and struggle. I was blown away at how quiet the halls of the hospital were. And it's because most of the parents are in this waiting mode, fearful and afraid and praying if their child is going to die or not. Whole different ballgame. And so just our life, I sat in hospital rooms, rather in ICU, regular rooms, in and out of surgery, in and out of home. At home, and not traveling up and down I-65 with his chemo. He had cancer 3 times, he beat cancer 2 times. The 3rd time it came back again. Histiocytic sarcoma was the name of the cancer. He was one of 2 people in the country with it.
Wow.
And so they did their best to combat it with the normal
chemo and
arms, chemotherapy. We did stem cell transplant. We did all that they had, all of the artillery they had to shoot at it. They did, and yet even at the 3rd time, it came back, and we just simply decided, and he decided as well, he didn't want to go any further, because any treatment less than the strongest stuff would only be, it wouldn't work. If the big stuff didn't work, it wouldn't. So we just simply journaled it. I wrote it as a window in, but in essence, it actually was a window out. For me, sitting in dark rooms and sharing, and all of our experiences, hands-on, in-time experiences of what we went through side by side, him and I, and our family, some of the darkest places. And so we wrote the one book, Light and Darkness, just to simply say that with the smallest flame of hope, you can exist even in utter darkness. So in the darkest of times, I asked Angelo why, because he was the strongest and most positive person I've known in my life. Even though he went through the worst of the worst with cancer and the struggle, he still made up his mind he was going to be positive and encourage everybody he could.
Right.
Rather in church, organizations, wherever we went, even within the hospital, he was. We started the Don't Complain campaign.
Yes.
And his
national movement.
And his position was, don't complain, because there's always somebody else doing worse than you.
Right.
And then we started another campaign. It was called Fight for It.
Right.
You know, if you want it, you got to fight for it. You just cannot lie down and quit, you know. And we would say that our motto was, you cannot change what happens to you. You cannot control what happens to you, but you possess the power to change or to it's how you respond. You possess the power to control how you respond is how we did. And so that was and we just tried to inspire as many people as we could. And so we wrote Light and Darkness after that, after he passed. And so I wrote everything up until the day, even things that I've never heard about, people having to go buy an outfit to bury their child in.
Right. I remember you actually shared that on social media as well.
Yeah, and that was major to me, you know. And I used to say to him, well, I used to say, even in the book I wrote, that most times people say the children bury their parents. And I said, as a parent who buried their child, I said, I would rather him go before me, because I would never want him to experience the pain that I experienced.
Right.
In burying him.
Now, you brought your books out. You can actually hold them up so the viewers at home can actually see them.
The ones
Light
that
and Darkness.
are watching us on Facebook Live.
Light and Darkness and Living Without a Limp.
Yes.
Living Without a Limp I wrote after he passed. And it was because I experienced so many, myself and my family experienced so many things in losing a loved one.
Right.
And this thing called grief. And so many people talk about grief. Nobody knows what grief is about, and everybody uses this. Well, everybody grieves differently, and everybody has, you know, and it becomes this off-limit topic, and which frustrated me, because everybody says it's off-limits, which means that everybody can grieve however they want to. And I found that so many people use the loss of their loved one as an excuse to limp, to become an addict, to be an alcoholic, to quit on life, to not be productive anymore. And my argument was, even with my son in particular, I said that if I want to pay homage to my son and honor him, then I'm going to live my life in a way that brings honor to him, and not in a way that brings dishonor to him. I'm not going to use him. And I always say, if I would have passed before him, I would have been angry if he would have used my death as an excuse not to be an unproductive citizen. As a matter of fact, I was telling somebody the other day, I said, you talk about haunting somebody's house. I would have rattled his cabinets and all of that, because I would have been so angry that he used my death as an excuse not to be productive. And so in the book, I talk about things like about turning the page. Right. You got to learn how to turn. Yes, it's tough. It hurts. It's hard. All of those. And respectfully, it is.
Yeah.
So at some point, you got to learn how to turn the page, because so many people get stuck.
How can people get the book?
Amazon. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it on Barnes and Noble. Both books side by side. If you
any events coming up,
putting my name up. Yes. Friday we'll be in D.C.
All right.
In the DMV.
Anything that local people can come to?
Yeah. Well, Friday will be D.C. Saturday at 2:00, 2 to 4. We'll be at St. Timothy, 25th and Clark, 25th and Grant, and Monday we'll be at Ivy Tech in Gary, Indiana.
All right, so make sure you definitely check him out. We will post links to more information on Wilford on the iRaise radio page. So thank you so much for coming out. And
thank you for allowing us to put you in the hot seat.
No more hot seat.
And he
will cheated. Bring it.
He will be in the hot seat again.
I like what I like. I don't like what I don't like.
Yeah, we want to thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget, as you listen to iRaise Radio, our goal is to bring you one level higher.
One step closer.
To becoming a better you.
All right.
So don't forget to check us out next Tuesday, 6 o'clock.
Yes, 6
right
to 7.
Here on WJOB.
Yes.